When people imagine ancient wisdom, they often picture mystical riddles or vague moral sayings. What they rarely imagine is a precise, psychologically sophisticated theory of communication written nearly 4,400 years ago. Yet that is exactly what we find in the Maxims of Ptahhotep, composed in ancient Egypt around 2400 BCE. Long before Aristotle analyzed rhetoric, and long before psychology named concepts like emotional regulation or impulse control, Ptahhotep was already teaching leaders how speech shapes minds, relationships, and entire societies. Ptahhotep was not writing as a detached philosopher. He was a vizier, one of the highest officials in the state, responsible for order in a complex civilization. His audience was future administrators, judges, and leaders whose words could stabilize a nation or quietly destroy it. For him, language was not self-expression, it was a moral instrument governed by Ma'at, the Egyptian principle of truth, balance, and harmony. To speak carelessly was not merely impolite, it was a violation of cosmic order. One of Ptahhotep's most striking ideas is that silence can be more powerful than speech. In disputes, especially among equals, he advises restraint. Silence allows the other person's lack of self-control to reveal itself. Anyone who has watched an online argument implode because one person could not stop posting understands this instantly. When emotions rise, credibility collapses. Ptahhotep understood this thousands of years before social media gave us daily demonstrations. Silence, however, is not passivity in Ptahhotep's system. It is an active psychological discipline. He describes speaking well as harder than any other form of labor. Words must be shaped carefully, like stone carved for a temple wall. This sharply contrasts with modern culture, where speed is rewarded over thoughtfulness, and opinions are expected immediately. Ptahhotep would likely see constant commentary as a sign of immaturity, not authenticity. To Ptahhotep, speaking was never morally neutral. Every utterance either upheld Ma'at or damaged it. Words carried ethical weight because they shaped trust, reputation, and order. A careless statement could ripple outward, harming families, offices, and institutions. This is why speech demanded conscience, not cleverness. In modern terms, he treats communication as character in motion. What you say reveals who you are before you ever act. Speaking truthfully, it was not about winning arguments, but preserving balance. In a world where words travel instantly, his warning feels sharper, not outdated. It challenges modern habits of impulsive expression and performative outrage everywhere. Ptahhotep's advice on facing equals is strategically ruthless in its calm. When confronting someone of similar status, he counsels restraint, not rebuttal. Silence becomes a mirror reflecting the other person's impatience, insecurity, or arrogance. As they continue speaking, they weaken themselves. Their excess exposes their lack of discipline. This is not avoidance, it is psychological positioning. Modern negotiation theory echoes this principle. The person who speaks less often controls the frame. In debates, meetings, or online disputes, silence forces others to reveal more than they intend. This ancient tactic quietly outperforms aggression while preserving dignity and authority always, without spectacle. Thinking before speaking for Ptahhotep was an ethical rehearsal. One pauses to test words against truth, necessity, and consequence. If speech fails these tests, silence is preferable. This discipline trains the mind to separate impulse from intention. Modern psychology calls this executive control, but the behavior is ancient. The pause protects relationships and reputations alike. It also protects the speaker from future regret. In leadership especially, a single careless sentence can undo years of credibility. Ptahhotep's pause is therefore preventative wisdom, not hesitation. It favors foresight over reaction, depth over noise, and responsibility over ego in public life today globally. In Ptahhotep's worldview, speech binds the speaker to outcomes. You are accountable not only for intention, but for impact. This rejects the modern excuse of saying whatever one feels and blaming misunderstanding later. Moral speech requires anticipation. How will these words land? What will they encourage? What disorder might they unleash? Such thinking transforms communication into stewardship. Leaders, parents, and teachers become guardians of social balance through language. Even silence carries responsibility because choosing not to speak can preserve harmony. This ethic demands maturity in a culture that rewards reaction over reflection and instant expression without accountability today, globally, often. Applied today, Ptahhotep's method looks almost subversive. In meetings, the calm listener often emerges as the authority. Online, the person who refuses reactive posting avoids self-inflicted damage. Silence denies provocateurs the fuel they seek. Meanwhile, deliberate speech signals confidence and control. Thinking before speaking is not weakness, it is dominance without noise. It conserves energy and credibility. Ptahhotep understood that power shouts, but authority doesn't need to. In a loud world addicted to commentary, disciplined silence becomes a competitive advantage few can match. Those who master it shape conversations, while others exhaust themselves chasing attention endlessly, publicly, predictably, daily, online. When speech is used, it must serve truth. Ptahhotep repeatedly warns against exaggeration, gossip, and verbal cruelty. Speech can heal or destroy because it creates social reality. A leader who humiliates a subordinate weakens not only that person, but also their own authority. Modern leadership research confirms this. Respect builds trust. Humiliation breeds resentment. The vizier already knew this 4 millennia ago. Ptahhotep's advice shifts depending on social context. With superiors, he recommends humility and restraint, not because superiors are always correct, but because reckless correction invites chaos. With equals, calm speech and strategic silence establish authority. With inferiors, restraint prevents abuse of power. This is an advanced model of communication psychology, recognizing hierarchy without endorsing domination. What makes this philosophy remarkable is its emotional precision. Ptahhotep understood that speech is often driven by anger, pride, and insecurity. He urges mastery of these forces before opening one's mouth. In modern terms, he is advising regulation of emotional impulses before they hijack judgment. He lacked neuroscience vocabulary, but his behavioral insight aligns perfectly with contemporary psychology. There is also a moral clarity that modern communication theory often avoids. Ptahhotep insists that truth matters because false speech destabilizes reality itself. When leaders lie, trust erodes. When trust erodes, societies fragment. This is not abstract speculation. We see it every time misinformation spreads faster than correction and outrage outperforms accuracy. Ptahhotep's wit lies in his restraint. He does not praise cleverness for its own sake. He warns against speaking simply to sound intelligent. Silence, he reminds us, can itself be wisdom. Imagine how many meetings, comment sections, and public scandals could be avoided if this ancient principle were practiced today. In the end, Ptahhotep offers a humbling lesson. The problems we think are modern, impulsive speech, public shaming, reckless leaders, were already diagnosed thousands of years ago. His solution is not censorship or suppression, but discipline. Speak when your words align with truth, purpose, and balance. Remain silent when they do not. In that silence, wisdom has room to breathe. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked anything in this video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a chance to learn something you may have not known before.